Welcome to all. My name is Laila Ignatius. For the past 14 years, I have been taking classes for various academics in related to the UPSC field. Okay, today I am going to start with the concept regarding PSER. The first and foremost important thing, when you are going to start an optional like PSER, and before going to start this optional, first of all I just want to give some kind of ideas regarding this optional. And while selecting optional paper, this is a normal idea that the way how students are going to select their optional, the most important thing any optional and the way it is going to reduce the burden of the students into the category of GS paper. So, the first and foremost important thing is that the interest. Without interest, student cannot able to take any subject. And after that interest, the second important thing is based on the way how it is going to reduce students' preparation or the burden into the category of GS part. Okay. And when I am going to look into the concept of PSER, and you know very well that in paper 2, we are having 250 mark exclusively. Other than that paper to 250, again when I am going to paper 4, like in the area of ethics, you can able to have some kind of concept like probity and public admin and related to the ideas that will also help some point around 50 to 80 marks. And other than that, when you are going to look into the area of essay paper, essay. And here in essay also definitely like last year, there was 2 questions, section A, section B, all the total essay paper from political science, and now and then every year you can able to see 1 question minimum 125 mark, or if 2 question comes then 250 mark completely from PSER. So, like this manner this paper PSER is helping students not only in terms of their optional paper around already optional paper 500 marks. Okay. Other than that the 250 mark it can able to help students into the category of paper 2 polity, governance and IR area. And again there is another area in the name of essay, and in personality test or interview you can able to see that always some 25% of the question will come into the category of, it is depend upon the luck, will come into the category of the international relations and the internal security related issues, IR and internal security related issues. Other than that some general ideas also from the political scenario and political nature and political ideology of the country. So, this optional will help the students to reduce not only getting good mark in this area of optional paper 1, paper 2 500. Other than that it will also help in GS in various way. So, that is why it is also a very popular optional right now throughout the country. Okay. And while going to start the concept inside PSER, generally teachers will go and start in 2 ways. One is some topic from paper 1 or some other topic from paper 2. And when I am looking into the concept of paper 1, these are all completely theory area where I can able to see entire the political theories in paper 1, and section B I can able to see the concept regarding the Indian polity, and we can able to say the polity and constitution. And again when we are going to look into the concept of paper 2, you can able to see the comparative ideas of political science, the comparative part aligned with the principles of the concept like international relations. So, this IR part only I am going to, because generally people won't give much importance, and this part is not only helping student to get good mark in mains examination optional, but also in GS part. So, generally I will start with the area of this second part. Okay. Now, when you are going to start a political science optional, even the thinkers like the way how the question was asked by UPSC about Macpherson in democracy for example, or any other person like John Rawls theory of social justice, and the same concept and idea is having equality in terms of the comparative politics as well as the concept regarding international relations. So, you should have a very strong mind that only paper 1 and theory once I completed, I have completed my political science. This is totally a wrong notion. the wrong ideas that people are having and wrong focus also towards optional paper, the students are only focusing more or the concept in terms of teaching also coming to the students life into the category of the section A of paper 1 in PSCR. And once this part are done and the dilution of the entire syllabus, but when I am going to approach the subject PSCR, every part is having equality. Even in section A also you are going to get some kind of mark, and every question is going to have 12.5 or 20 or 10 or 15 mark. And when I am going to the last part, the section B in paper 2 also, it is also having the same equal 20 or 15 or 10. So there is no difference. But the most important thing, the section B and paper 2 is going to help to reduce your burden in various ways. For this purpose only, we have to give little more important than the paper A, and paper A is the theory area. There students, those who are going to give their second mains, third mains and fourth mains can able to do well, and papers 2 section B and section A will bring some kind of equality among all students. The scientific scaling UPSC is expecting from the students. Based on that, the newcomers also, a senior candidate also, will have some kind of equality, the equality of opportunity or the right to equality. On the basis of that, the student can able to score very good mark when I am comparing with the paper 1 section A, then paper 2, paper 1 section A and section B, because that is the idea into the category of the scientific scaling of UPSC that will give more important on the basis of the dynamic nature. So based on that, we have to give more important to the section A part of paper 1 than section B part of paper 2. Okay. So the reason I simply explain about it. Now I am just going to start. There is very general idea. This general idea is not only helping student to focus on section B, paper 2. It will help a student to manage his preliminary also, mains GS part also, and optional part also. That is why when you are going to select an option like PSIR, it is not only helping student to score very good mark for the past few years, except after 2013 and until 2023, and other than that, it is also reducing the burden of students in various way. How and why, I can able to explain in simple manner. On the basis of a topic, I can able to handle it in the name of foreign policy perspective. Foreign policy perspective. This is a general topic. But once I am going to conclude this particular topic, you can able to manage your entire international relations in terms of PT GS, in terms of mains GS, but also section B of paper 2. One single topic will elaborate the entire concept regarding your preliminary GS part and mains GS part and optional part of section B. How and why? When I am going to start this foreign policy perspective, and India's foreign policy need to be classified into 4 categories, and on the basis of that only, since at the time of 1979 to 2022, you can check all the question paper for either preliminary GS part, mains GS part, and optional paper PSIR. Questions so far asked by UPSC always come into the 3-4 category, and along with that UPSC also the way how they are framing a syllabus also we can able to explain, and you can be able to get some kind of explanation by answering this particular part. As per your syllabus, it is there in section B of paper 2. Now what is foreign policy perspective? This was an idea when a country want to have a good relationship with other country. On the basis of that, the country can able to maintain a peaceful coexistence. So based on the peaceful coexistence, the country can able to focus on their regional aspiration as well as global aspiration. Everyone want to grow in their life. So not confined with other people, no one want to, countries also. So for having a peaceful coexistence, the countries need to have a very good foreign policy. For example, the current government is having neighborhood first, is a kind of foreign policy since 2014. So we can able to focus on Africa, Europe and other various countries rather than spending our energy for resolving the conflict with the Pakistan and China alone. So in this category, When I want to look into this foreign policy perspective in terms of preliminary as well as optional, so I always connect my subject in terms of preliminary also and GS part also and optional part. Okay. So the preliminary perspective, the foreign policy perspective, it was in exactly 1920s, first time the Indian National Congress, the sole representative during the time for the freedom movement and freedom struggle, who first realized that India need a separate foreign policy for themselves. Then after that, it was in 1927, the foreign policy department, a department of foreign policy came into existence inside Indian National Congress, okay. So from the time onwards, the Congress as a political party had its own foreign policy perspective. Based on that, they tried to interact with various outside organizations also. The best example I can able to say, in 1927, Nehru also went to Brussels in order to attend the international youth parliamentary things, etc. So after India's independence, it was in 1948, the formation of the Ministry of External Affairs came into existence. The foreign ministry came into existence. From there, the process became in a different direction. And Nehru also became the first foreign affairs ministers. Now when I am continuing this perspective, from the time onwards until today, the various prime ministers and external affairs ministers or the think tank of India try to make the foreign policy in various ways. For that, the four components are always important and necessary, and those four components only UPSC asked in GS part preliminary and mains and optional part so far since 1979 to till date. How? The first and foremost important thing when you are going to look into the foreign policy perspective of India's foreign policy, I need to go to the first component, a country's national interest, any country. But we have to look into the category of India, national interest. And second important things into the category of geopolitics. Second point is geopolitics, or sometimes we will say geostrategy also. Geostrategy. Okay. Then third important thing we can able to say that bilateral relationship with our neighborhood country, and finally fourth point, international political environment, Okay, these are all the four important perspectives. I already gave as a challenge that the way how UPSC also asked about international relations, all the questions will come into this four category only, it won't go beyond that one. For preliminary also, mains also, optionals. So when I am going to look into the idea of foreign policy perspective, country need its interest first, keep its interest as the maximum point, followed by the geopolitics of the land and bilateral relation with our neighborhood and international political environment. On the basis of these four components only, we are going to build a country's foreign policy. So in this first one, when I am going to look into the idea of foreign policy, the first and foremost important thing, the country want to keep its interest while going to consider the other various subcomponent in the name of national development, national country's development, okay, then national stability, then national security. Development, stability and security, these are the three bi-component when a country want to keep its national interest as a most important foreign policy perspective. For example, a country want to keep its national interest in terms of national development. When they want to go for some kind of agreement, they want to make it with other countries. Okay, when they want to go in other various perspective, development always will come under the category of the economic or economy of the country, and stability always will come under the category of the political nature of the country, and security will always come in the category of the military of the country, military doctrines and military policy. For economic perspective, for example, in 2014, after Modi became the Prime Minister of India, he initiated the trade facilitation agreement with the WTO, by keeping India's interest as the maximum. So negotiation also happened. On the basis of that, the peace clause also given to Modi government for a temporary period of time. The best example, that is only India specific agreement in order to strengthen India's economic interest in various ways, while making a foreign policy towards a trade facilitation agreement with the WTO, the Indian government made. Already it was asked by UPSC in optional paper also, in preliminary GS also, in mains GS also, in 3 times since 2014 to 2019. Okay, in terms of trade facilitation agreement. This is the best example I can able to say that national development in terms of economic parameter. Then when I am going to look into the stability part, when I am going to make foreign policy and national interest is the most important thing, how the way the concept like stabilities are going to affect. When you are looking to the ideas of stability, the simple concept inside this one, when I am going to compare the developmental perspective of India and China with the help of Mr. Amartya Sen's The Argumentative India. There was a book written by Mr. Amartya Sen. In paper 1 here and there we will discuss about this idea of Amartya Sen's The Argumentative India in terms of the principles of democracy. He always says that the intrusive democracy and extrinsic democracy and other various democracy we are going to study in paper 1. So in that book Mr. Amartya Sen very clearly demarcated the developmental perspective of India and China. Because of the political stability until 1996, all the parameters of India and China's development almost in equal status till 1996. After 96, a 13-day prime minister, 13-month prime minister, a bargaining federalism, a political instability, a coalition form of government which spoiled the Indian political stability. So China went far ahead of India in all the other parameters and India was into the category of stagnation during the time. This is the best example. Due to the lack of political stability, our interest was compromised and developmental parameters also got infected in various ways. Then security when I want to. There is an example, the way how India 2020-22 UPSC asked a simple question in GS part. Okay, I2, U2. India, Israel, UAE, United States of America. Is the best example I can able to say the way how the security doctrines are more important while making foreign policy in terms of country's national interest. Is the best example I can able to say. Based on that we can able to elaborate. The speciality about our PSAR, I always want to insist that either it may be a paper 1 or paper 2. I am not going to handle only in terms of optional paper. I can able to connect this subject, every possibility I can able to give it in terms of GS paper 1 or 2 or 3 in various way, even GS paper 4 in various way. Based on that you can have some extra mileage in your GS paper in order to reduce your burden. For others are going to learn for 1000 marks and you can reduce yourself into the category of 500 or 600 only you need to prepare. Remaining 400, 500 we can able to gain from the optional itself. That is why I am combining, I am discussing this topic. So political stability, political security, on the basis of the lot of question in GS as well as optional paper. In coming classes I will explain everything with the help of the question paper. Then when I am going to second part, geopolitics and geostrategy. When you are going to look into the geopolitics and geostrategy, even in GS 2008 preliminary mains question, what is geopolitics, what is geostrategy? So when you are looking into the idea of geopolitics, a land-based politics which is happening inside the world between countries, or in a strategical way the countries want to have some kind of strong basis in and around the area, and this particular conflict, a land based conflict, will come into the category of a microscopic and macroscopic perspective, will always consider in the category of a geopolitics and geostrategy. For example, even I can able to say other than the optional paper, 2011 in GS UPSC asked a very simple question in terms of what is string of pearl and what is string of pearl again in 2013, and other various examples of ITU2 also I can able to say the geopolitics and geostrategy. The same type of question also asked by UPSC in paper 2 PSAR optional paper. These are all the examples we can able to say how the way the geopolitics and geostrategy, a land based politics and a strategic based politics is the best example. Even in the very recent example, I2U2 is a kind of example, or India's Indo-Pacific policy, or America's Indo-Pacific policy, or Russia's Indo-Pacific policy, or European Union Indo-Pacific policy. Even very recently the country like German also started Indo-Pacific policy. These are all other various examples we can able to say about the concept of geopolitics and geostrategy. Then when I am going to the third important perspective of India's foreign policy, the bilateral relation with our neighborhood. I told at the very beginning, every country want to have a peaceful coexistence with our neighborhood. On the basis of that, countries can able to go in a next level by focusing towards a regional supremacy or the global supremacy or the space beyond outer space to enter into the area of Martian orbit and Jupiter orbit in future. For that we need to have a very stable base in my border, then only I can able to focus on regional and global perspectives. So bilateral relation with our neighborhood is a very most important component. Even in class you can able to have your friends are sitting next to you, front or back or side. If you are having a very cordial relation with your friends, you can able to write the class clearly. If you are getting disturbances by the way of someone is pushing your note or pen or something like that, your focus won't be towards class, your focus should be to your neighborhood only, your entire time will get spoiled. A simple example. These are all the things. You take it as an example in optional paper. The way how every year some 3-4 question in section B, that Indo-USA relationship, India-Russia relationship, or India-Bhutan bilateral, India-Sri Lanka bilateral, or another way you go to GS, at least one minimum question from India-China or India-USA or India and any global power and current affairs based something. So every year you can able to see this question from the area of bilateral relationship, always in optional for another 25 to 30-40 mark, and in GS also 12.5 to 25 mark you can able to get from this particular idea of the bilateral relation with our neighborhood. Then when I am coming to the last part, the international political environment. Here only students generally will ask, because the optional is 500 mark. Already we have to study theories and all, and in what way I have to update. When I want to talk about the international political environment in UPSC's point of view, in subject point of view, if you want to be a scholar in political science, the things are totally different. This is a PhD paper. But if you want to crack the UPSC with a limited period, with your first attempt itself, the focus should be more on current affairs, but only one question you need to ask when you are going to focus on this particular area, the international political environment. What are the events that are happening in and around the country and world? As per UPSC's point of view, whether that event is directly affecting India or not, either indirectly or directly, then give focus on. If not, leave and go to the other area. Some example I can able to give it for the international political environment in optional paper, the way how the United Nations and related contributions, the way how the various organizations and their contribution, the way how the countries and problem in the name of Indo-Israel or Palestine-Israel or Korean problem or Vietnam problem, I can able to give it as an example for this one. In GS IR area, some years before UPS asked a simple question in mains examination. The way how Al-Shabaab, a terrorist organization inside Somalia, they withdrawn the peace treaty with the Somalian government, and what impact it is going to give upon the Indian Ocean region and India's reaction to it. It was a question asked by UPSC some years ago. Why? What is it necessary a UPSC student should focus on a terrorist organization inside Somalia? Because once that organization cancelled their peace treaty with the government, they behaved like a pirates. They started piracy and piracy related activities inside Indian Ocean, and almost 40% of the world trade route, oil route is going from Suez Canal, which is connecting Mediterranean Sea as well as Indian Ocean and Africa till Australia's Malacca Strait. So this was the most important, and the name itself, it is an Indian Ocean. And India is the net security provider of the Indian Ocean, and particularly the western part of the Indian Ocean. So it is our duty, when a terrorist organization turned into the category of pirates, India immediately reacted with the action of anti-piracy operations by the Indian Navy around that area with the help of Sri Lanka, Mauritius, Maldives, Madagascar and Seychelles on the other side of Europe, like that manner, and we really acted in a successful manner as a net security provider of the Indian Ocean, particularly the western part of Indian Ocean. So these are all the best example, and I can able to answer a question already asked by UPSC around 2007 and 8. What is India's foreign policy perspective in optional paper? Other than that, I can able to give a syllabus, a hidden syllabus for UPSC student in terms of international relations. What is IR? Polity I am having syllabus, ethics I am having a syllabus, governance I am having a syllabus, but what about IR? IR is international relations. In what way I have to focus? Your focus and your syllabus should be here afterward in this class based on these four components only. National interest related to what, and geopolitics and geostrategy related to what, and bilateral relation with our neighborhood related to what, and finally international political environment. If you can able to focus on these four topics, you can able to score good mark in paper 2 also as well as GS paper also. Based on that, easily you can able to go to the next level in your examination. Okay. So this is the first and foremost important thing when you are going to look into the idea of foreign policy perspective. But we are going to support this idea as an optional class. So far it is a GS optional. Now I am going exclusive to the optional class. Some kind of idea you have to give important. For example, when I am going to look into this, there is always a vocabulary in the name of diplomacy. Diplomacy that we are going to practice. Okay, India is having a foreign policy since at the time of independence to till date. But this foreign policy also completely managed with the help of various doctrine. Already UPSC asked this question. In GS paper in 2013, they asked I.K. Gujral doctrine. What is I.K. Gujral doctrine? 2013 mains. In optional paper, every now and then, at least one question will be there in section B or section A of paper 2 related to the doctrines. So now the matter is that when you are looking into the idea of doctrines, so after the foreign policy perspective, it is the duty of the student to know about what is the foreign policy doctrine or the various foreign policy doctrines of India. Various foreign policy doctrines of Indian government. Okay. So when I am going to look into the foreign policy doctrine of our country, there should be a basic. Based on that, we can able to inculcate our ideas. So I am going to consider the doctrine of Montreux as the basis for a doctrine of Montreux as a basic for country's foreign policy various doctrines. For example, when Mr. Monroe, John Monroe was the president of America, even though they got independence from Americans, but the influence of Europeans was not away. Entire American continent was dominated by Europeans and white power. So he created a foreign policy for United States of America and whole American continent that keep all the foreigners away from American continent and maintain the supremacy and sovereignty of Americans inside American continent in the name of doctrine of Montreux. The same kind of idea also after India's independence Nehru want to adopt it. So on the basis of the doctrine of Montreux, Nehru decided to go for his own ideology in a big brother attitude that keep all the foreigners away from Asia, at least particularly South Asia, and maintain Indian dominance over this region. This region should under Indian dominance, not the European or the foreigners domination. So there was an idea of Nehru on the basis of the big brother attitude. So from the time onwards, the first Prime Minister of India on the basis of this particular doctrine created the principle or the doctrine of idealism. Idealism. The doctrine of idealism was created by Nehru. It is otherwise called as a big brother attitude.
He thought in his mind that we got the independence from United Kingdom, we got the British legacy, we got the bureaucracy also from British and other various parameters. So he thought the dominance United Kingdom had upon the entire world and South Asian Asia should be also borrowed it from United Kingdom to India. So in that manner, he started behaved with our neighbor country with the principles of idealism. But in China war in 1962 completely revealed that India is not a big brother. There are players are there.